Hello lovely book friends, welcome or welcome back. If you are new here, hello, my name is Mel. I'm so pleased that you are here for a little bookish video. If you are returning, thanks for coming back. Today I thought it would be fun to have a little coffee and just have a little relaxing moment together. Two things. One, I would update my reading journal because I have not done that in an age, for nearly 2 months. So I have a huge stack of printouts that I've just done. I thought it might be fun to also show you what bits and pieces I do use for my reading journaling. You can see at the front here, like I've got some colored pens, bought some new scissors, I've got highlighters in this little jar as well, and then the actual reading journal that I do use. But then I also thought that I would give you a little book haul at the end of this video as well, because I have nearly like 7, 8, maybe even 10 if we include some books that I've purchased on my Kindle. Let's get all set up. I'm also going to drink my coffee. I hope you don't mind. If you yourself want to go and get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, I would highly recommend, and we'll get straight into it. Okay, so I thought it might be fun to start with the actual reading journal that I use. So this reading journal is from Notebook Therapy. I did have a reading journal from Notebook Therapy last year. It was like a velvety brown with a honeybee on the front. This year I got a dove, and it's holding a little flower, and then it's also got a moon. On the spine is kind of like similar detailing. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's got the little same flower. As you can see from the side, I've already done a bit of journaling at the beginning of this year because I didn't feel my reading journal last year. I really wanted to make this more personalized this year, so not just book experiences but also kind of like a bit of a junk journal and a personal scrapbook as well. A few spreads that I have worked on so far include my rating system, which 5 stars is incredible, 4 stars really good, 3 stars is just good, 2 stars not really my vibe, 1 star should have DNF. I like to keep this because everybody rates their books so differently, but for me, in my mind, that's what my star rating is. And then I've also got my bookish goals, which last year I kind of had a few bookish goals, and by the end of the year I hadn't really looked at it because my goals change throughout the year. So I've just stuck with 3 very simple goals, which this year are: read at least 1 book per month, which I can definitely tick that off; deliver another Riverina Readers Festival, which is the book festival that I've created, as I've kind of touched on in other videos, but if you are interested in knowing more, please let me know. I'd be happy to do a video all on that. And upload at least 1 post per month to Mel Reviews Her Books. That could be Mel Reviews Her Books on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, in the Romantics book club that I've got over there on Facebook. Anything that is Mel Reviews Her Books related, I wanted to post at least 1 post per month. Then over here I just have like a smattering of things that are on different Pinterest boards of mine. I guess this is kind of like my mood board for the year, you could say. This year I really want to knit a blanket in the winter time. I want it to be like different patchwork colors like this. Would really like to try and annotate a little bit more. Spending time with Peach is very, very important, but also having some kind of book library. I really want to up my book library game this year. I'd really like to get some new bookshelves and just have like a dedicated area in my house that is just for my books, and to show them off in really nice casing, because I have bookshelves everywhere. I've got a bookshelf in the kitchen, I've got a bookshelf in the spare room, I've got a bookshelf in my bedroom, and then I've got a bookshelf in the living room. So I kind of just want to have one dedicated area that is all books and all the things that I love. So starting blank, this is going to be the backdrop on here for a bunch of Alyssa Callan books that I have listened to on audio, and funnily enough I'm actually going to be listening to on audio as I am doing my book journaling. Alyssa Callan is an Australian country romance author. She has 4 books in the Snowy Mountain series. They are fantastic. They are small town. All of them have different tropes, and they're actually very similar to the Lila Sage books, but they're Australian. And then I've just printed off some classic Aussie pictures that go along, because in this book series there's a town dog called Bundy. He's also a story dog at the local school on Thursdays, and he just roams around town, but everyone has like a mutual care for him. Then kind of like stationery bits and pieces, we've got a real mixture in here. I've really enjoyed using the Crayola Super Tips, so these are quite new for me, a new addition to my little stationery collection. But as you can see, they're these ones with the round tops, and they have such range in there. I've got my little metal ruler. I've got some other little Crayolas that When I was looking for the super tips initially, this was all I could come across. I think I got these in Kmart and they've been good, but definitely not as good as the super tips, and the super tips are actually cheaper, so would go for those. I used two different types of felt tips. So Jazz Art, which is this one here, the white one, I got from a local art shop which is called Exley's. They were pretty inexpensive because I think they're kind of like their home brand. Then you've got the classic Statler, which have been around forever. These are like a really old or quite different set because of the grey. Most of the tips are a bit blunt just because I've used them for years and years. Right in the center here is where I keep all my black and grey and lead tips. So a lead pencil. I have been using lead pencils like this since I was young because my nan is an artist, so she got me onto them to do like practice drawing and stuff like that. A few different black liners here just because they're all different sizes. So we've got a permanent marker that is 1 mil. We've got a very cheap J Burrows, which is like a basic Officeworks brand. We've got the art line. This is the one that I definitely use the most. It's like a nice thin felt tip. When I want to do a nice title of some sort, I got this calligraphy pen which is also 1 mil and it's art line. I just got this from Officeworks and it's been fantastic. You can kind of do different detailing with it, which I really enjoy. These two art lines are kind of the ones that I tend to grab for. This very simple, it's called a Unipin pen. This is actually in grey. This is from Officeworks as well. It's just lovely. It's not as harsh as a black pen. It softens things a bit. Then we have all of these little bits and bobs in here, which we've got just a simple pair of scissors. I also have a couple of pastel highlighters in here which get me through. I use them a lot actually. My little glue tape, and then from Officeworks recently I grabbed this little star stamp and he has been the best when I've been doing my spreads. To the little box of goodies. So this is where I kind of keep scrap bits of paper. This is where I keep stuff that I might want to put in my reading journal, like if I have a card or if I have a docket, I chuck it in here so that I remember to put it all in together. I've got a whole bunch of different washi tapes. These aren't even all of them, but they're gorgeous, and I find that when I'm like sticking dockets in and sticking in pictures and stuff on my junk journal-y type spreads, it's really nice to have the patterned washi tape. This is also a little bit new for me, but I got a date stamper so that I could make date in ink, and this is just a black ink pad of when I start a book and then when I finish a book, because I thought that would be really fun. So I just got that. That was cheap from Officeworks as well. So that's pretty much everything like stationery wise that I use on a regular basis when I do sit down to do some book journaling. I'm just going to use this page to make a list of the spreads that I do want to do, because I have a few that I'd like to get done while I'm listening to an audiobook and while you guys are kind of looking over my shoulder.
Giving you directions to my sisters. What is mine is always hers. As he'd hoped, the corners of Grace's mouth tore. I could help you with besides the ladder, and after a moment held it up to reveal the identical marketplace page. But as he tucked the pile of notes into his wallet, the last thing he felt was amusement. The longer he spent in Grace...
A little reading journal update. My camera went flat, but this book she is filling out. Did this one, which is the Alyssa Callan books of the Snowy Mountains series. I'm currently listening to the Snowy Mountains Cattleman. I've listened to 1 and 3 out of the series. Then I also just did some of my recent YouTube videos, which has been lots of fun. I feel like it's a little bit unfinished, but at the same time I actually really like the simpleness of it. I might come back and add a little bit more, or I may not. Then I have a little spread for Lila Sage, the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I had so many more pictures saved for a collage, but I've forgotten to print them. So once I started working and sticking, I realized I actually didn't have as many as what I was thinking. This does feel a little bit unfinished. I actually wouldn't be opposed to covering up some bits and then going again, but that's all part of it. It's just kind of like, I just worked with what I had and I really had no thought behind any of these. I just rip, stick and put in as I go. Just done like a little recently read just to kind of make up for the fact that I haven't done a March spread. So these are some books that I read towards the end of February and the start of March. Back here I also slotted in my One Book One Tomorrow page where I interviewed Chris Hammer. I did have a written title up the top, but I didn't like it, so I covered it with some all different like scrapped paper. So I think I'm going to print off some letters and then stick them in at a later date. Once you end up putting this bad boy back together, she is growing. She's really growing. I love it. Okay, book friends, now we're on to the second part of this video where I show you this humongous stack of books that I have purchased since the last time we talked, as in like yapped in a little vlog. I'm just gonna hook straight in because there's a stack here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books, and then I have a few on my Kindle that I've purchased as well. First one is Unhallowed Vows by Lily Wilkinson. This is a young adult novel. It's very spook, it's very mysterious. It kind of gives like dark academia vibes. So let me read the back of this to you. Paige Whittaker has always been an outcast. She's too smart, too quiet, too weird. And after the deadly incident that destroyed her only friendship at her old school, she needs a fresh start. Agathon College is everything Paige has ever wanted. A safe haven of wood-panelled halls and dusty books on a remote Scottish moor. And for the first time in her life, she has a close group of friends. Cyrus, Wren, Gideon, Lacey, and Oak help her feel at home at Agathon. The only problem is they're all keeping secrets from her. Paige doesn't know it yet, but her perfect new school has a crooked foundation rooted in an ancient clandestine society with rumoured ties to demonic magic. Soon Paige will learn that not everyone in Agathon is who they say they are, least of all her friends. Agathon claims to teach its students history, but some histories are better left buried. I'm really excited to pick this up. At this stage, I think it's a standalone. It only came out in February. Like, it's really fresh. I might have the opportunity to meet Lily sometime this year, so I'm very excited to read this. It sounds very much up my alley. Very much a winter mood read for me. If you've watched my other videos or you know my reading styles, usually in winter is when I will pick up more fantasy, more dark academia, more historical fictions as well. Then we have A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. This cover, fantastic. This is part of a series. This was just a rogue purchase in a bookshop earlier this weekend. I was having a bit of I just want to find a brand new series that I haven't heard many people talk about, that has a few books in it that I could just whip through. When I read the back, it says it's for fans of Sarah J Maas, and when I read you the blurb, you will understand why. Kira is a killer. As the King's Blade, she is the most talented spy in the kingdom and the King's favoured assassin. When a mysterious figure moves against the crown, Kira is called upon to hunt down the so-called shadow. She tracks her target into the magical lands of the Fae, but Faeland is not what it seems, and neither is the shadow. As she searches for answers, Kira is hunted by a promise she made long ago, one that will test her in every way. To keep her word, Kira must not only save herself, but an entire kingdom. So I guess being a King's assassin very much takes us back to book 1 in Throne of Glass. I'm expecting this to have a really good adventure element, but also some political diversity, because we are talking about her position in the kingdom as well, of the secrets that she's been keeping. If you have read this or heard of it, please tell me down below. I want to say the author, yeah, she's Canadian, which is really cool. I feel like I haven't read a lot of authors that are Canadian. Then I picked up number 2 in the Castle Lane series by Cassandra Clare. This is her new adult fantasy series. From what I do know, I have not read book 1 in this series. I'm planning on binging the both of them back to back. What I do know is that the main character, he kind of like steps in for the prince. He's a bit of a protector for the prince, or alternatively, he's kind of like, he looks alike to the prince. So if there is an event or a ceremony or something like that going on, he will step in for the prince rather than the prince being in harm's way. And because of that, they have a really strong bond and they've grown up together. But I'm not sure if as time moves on, they come across different challenges that force their true identities and their upbringings to actually start to divide them. And I have no idea what book 2 entails, but I just purchased it while it was in the large copy because I need all my books to be the same in a series, you know? Then of course we purchased the physical copy of Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is the third and final book in the Powerless series. There is also a novella in there, which is another character story. I'm actually reading this on Kindle at the moment. I'm close to 50% of the way through. In my 2025 TBR, you will have seen me say, and also the 24-hour reading vlog that I am filming for this, I found the beginning quite slow, a little bit challenging, very repetitive of book 1. I've watched a bit of BookTube and also some reels and read some Instagram posts to say that after about 50% it gets a lot better, and also towards like the last 150 pages it like stuff happens really quickly. I am going to persist, so I will keep you posted as to how this goes. We also got Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This is the fourth and final book in this standalone but interconnected small town series. Each book in this series has a different trope with the main characters. We have a set of 3 siblings. We have Emmy, who's in the first book. We've got Wesley, who's in the second, Gus in the third, and then Gus's baby mama, Camille, in the fourth. She's the one that got away. He's the one that never let go. Single mother Camille Ashwood loves a plan, but when her latest backfires, she finds herself abandoned at the altar with nowhere to live. That is, until she discovers her dream home in her hometown is available. There's only one problem: the neighbour. Dusty Tucker has spent nearly all of his adult life running from his feelings for Cam. But since returning home, the girl who was his first, well, everything, has become a woman seemingly determined to keep him at arm's length. But despite Cam's best efforts to stay away, she finds herself increasingly drawn to Dusty, and as past wounds opened and feelings, both old and new, wreak havoc, Cam and Dusty begin to wonder if their first love was meant to be their last, and this time, will it be forever? So this is Camille and Dusty's story. This is kind of like high school sweethearts who their relationship, you just know something really big happened in their relationship as teenagers. Now, in present time, they're not together, but they still have this looming deep connection to one another. I read this on Kindle because I could get it immediately, but also I listened on audio as well. So that immersive experience was really fantastic. Don't worry, by the end of this year, I'll be going back and rereading this book again. So I needed a physical copy to do that. Randomly enough, my tennis club actually has a whole bookshelf overflowing of books that all of the members, including myself, if we've read books and we're kind of de-shelving them from our library, then we will go and donate them to the club for other people to pick up. I picked up Outback Reunion by Rachel Johns. I have only read Rachel Johns' newer book called The Other Bridget, and I loved it. Because I read country romance quite regularly, I had to pick up this copy of one of Rachel's older classics. Rachel has an absolute backlist of Australian country romance. I'm talking between like 12 and 20 backlist books. Like, she's been around the block in the Australian publishing book industry for a very long time. They spent one magical night together, but when he woke up, she was gone. 8 years later, Gabrielle Jimenez is hoping a couple of weeks in Bunyip Bay with the Grand Jimenez family circus will give her and Luna, her daughter, the chance to reconnect with the tragic death of Luna's father. The last thing Gabby expects is to run into the man she once knew. Mark Morgan is still as sweet and sexy as she remembers, but Gabby is harboring guilt and dealing with the grief of her in-laws. She can't afford to let him get under her skin again. After his successful career in AFL was cut short due to a crushing injury, Mark is struggling to readjust to small town life and working the family farm. As if this isn't bad enough, his wife's betrayal means he may never be able to risk his heart to love again. Mark couldn't be less interested in the circus that has arrived to town until he discovers that the woman who vanished from his bed all those years ago, Peach, without saying goodbye, is part of it. Will a chance meeting lead to something more? So I think with Bunyip Bay, you can read these books individually, but they all connect into the same small town. So this was a freebie in my book haul. Summer in the City by Alex Astor. This is her new contemporary novel, which is a standalone. I had a friend earlier this week actually recommend to me for the second time to read the Lightlark series by her, and I was in Big W between this and Lightlark going, oh, which one do I pick up? But I felt like I already had added a lot of fantasy books to my TBR for this winter, so it was time to get a little bit more romance in there before we do end up really, really cold here in Australia. 27-year-old screenwriter Elle has the chance of a lifetime to write a big budget movie set in New York City. The only problem, she's had writer's block for months and her screenplay is due by the end of the summer. Desperate for inspiration, Elle returns to NYC, the city she hates, and tries to throw herself into her writing. But then she meets her new neighbor, Parker Warren. He's the city's favorite handsome tech billionaire, and he's also the guy Elle hooked up with in a stairwell 2 years ago. When seeing him again turns into a night of hate-fueled writing, Elle realizes Parker might just be her twisted muse. So when Parker needs to fake a steady relationship during his company's precarious acquisition, they suddenly find they might just be exactly what each other needs. Summers always end, and so will this agreement. It's all pretend. Promise? Until it isn't. Very much looking forward to getting 1 or 2 more romances in before autumn is up. The last physical book that I purchased recently is Swept Away by Beth O'Leary. I have read Beth O'Leary books for a very, very long time now. I started with The Flat Share back in 2017 or 2018, and I have read every single release the year or like to the month when it's come out. This one will be no different. I will be sinking my teeth into this as soon as I possibly can. Let me read you the back. Lexi is looking for no strings attached fun with a stranger. She deserves one night for herself, doesn't she? Zeke is looking for love, but for one night with a woman like Lexi, he'll break his rules. Sparks fly at the pub. One passionate kiss leads to another and they end up stumbling home to the marina together. The next morning, hungover and shaken by an amazing night, Lexi is more than ready for Zeke to leave. There's just one small problem. The houseboat they stayed on has been swept out to sea. As their supplies start to run dangerously low and the waves pick up, Zeke and Lexi soon realize there's much more on the line than their new relationship. How long can they survive on a drifting houseboat in the North Sea? Will search and rescue find them? And who will they be if they both make it back to dry land? A little bit different, a little bit quirky. I love that Beth O'Leary's books all have different settings. The Flat Share, it was one flat that 2 people shared at like one did night shift, one did day shift, so they never really saw each other. You've got the Road Trip, which is all set in a car. There's the Switch, which is a granddaughter and a grandmother who switch houses. So the grandmother goes to live in London and the granddaughter comes to like the small English countryside. So all of her books are standalone. They're fantastic. I would highly recommend you read them all. Oh, the Wake Up Call and the No Show. Oh, see, they're all so good and they're all very memorable. So would recommend. And then one more book that I have purchased on my Kindle that I wanted to share with you is The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payden Smith. So this is what it looks like. In the beginning, it says that this is kind of like The Cruel Prince meets Bridgerton. I haven't read The Cruel Prince, but I know that it's fae-based. Every citizen in England is granted one bargain from their immortal fae queen. High society girls are expected to bargain for qualities that will win them suitors. A rare talent for piano in exchange for one's happiest childhood memory. A perfect smile for one's ability to taste. But Ivy Benton's debut season arrives with a shocking twist. A prize that could save Ivy's family from ruin and free her sister from the bargain that destroyed her. Yet every glittering fae deal has a rotting heart, and at the center of this contest is a dark plot that could destroy everything. I watched What Emmy Reads on YouTube. Read this. It was part of like her Fairy Loot video where she read a whole bunch of books that are Fairy Loot editions, and she absolutely loved this. She said if I hadn't have gotten it in my Fairy Loot subscription, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. And also I've seen it a lot on Instagram now. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, be sure to like and subscribe. I would love to see you back here sometime soon. If you have any recommended video ideas, please let me know in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed your coffee or tea that you have been drinking. If you have made it to the end of this video, drop a little coffee cup in the comments. I would love to see who you are and give you some love. I hope to see you again soon, book friends, and I hope you have a lovely week. Bye.